make sure the disc comes out at precisely a 47-degree angle, which is going to add velocity and reduce resistance in order to allow the disc to accelerate.
Can somebody make a video that explains this in normal terms?
Don't you worry, we got you. What is up, YouTube fam? We are here this week talking about an essential skill of disc golf, unless you're ambidextrous. How do you throw a forehand? A forehand is one of the most vital skills to have in the game if you really want to attack every course you come across. So how do you throw a forehand? There are some excellent videos out there. In fact, there are like a lot of videos. But when you sort through all of those, you'll find two that I think are especially helpful coming from two of the best forehand players in the world. That is Nate Sexton and Eagle McMahon. They both have fantastic videos teaching you how to throw a forehand, and I would really suggest checking out either of those. Once again, there are other amazing options out there, but those are just two of my favorites. The only issue I have with those is that they don't really put them in layman's terms. These are super technical videos that have lots to go with them, but I don't really think they're great at teaching beginners how to throw a forehand. And that's what we're here for, to help beginners learn how to throw their forehands. Before we get started though, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Come join the channel. So how would I teach someone to throw a forehand? I'm glad you asked. Let's jump on in. I thankfully have had minimal injury in my disc golf career, but the one thing that has caused the most injury for me is throwing forehands without proper stretching. So if you're going to be throwing a lot of forehands, or especially power forehands, make sure you spend some time stretching before you get throwing. So before you throw, you've got to pick up the disc. Grip. Let's start with grip. Huge disclaimer, grip is something that is incredibly subjective, but there are a few different grips that people use and try out when it comes to the forehand throw. We're going to have what I call the ultimate grip, which is two fingers side by side, kind of stacked on top of each other, and this gives you support, nice and easy, and you have the lever of the throw. The second grip is where people have what's called the stack grip, where they've got two fingers on the edge of the rim, kind of the power aspect of things, and you've got two fingers really launching it. Great for grip, great for extra power on the disc. Third option that a lot of people use is the fan grip. It gives you a lot of control on the disc and allows you to manipulate those angles with pretty good ease because you have that extra finger out there. Some people would say there's not as much power in this grip. No matter what you're throwing for your forehand grip, there are three things that are constants in every single forehand grip, and that is the thumb placement. You're going to want to make sure your thumb is near the edge of the disc. You don't want it to be all the way on the edge, but you also don't want it to be in the middle because then you're too far away from your control point. Think about like you're trying to pinch a plate, and that's about where you should have the grip for your thumb on the forehand throw. Second is making sure that you understand where the disc is rotating off of. The disc is going to rotate off of these fingers depending on which grip you're using, so you want to make sure that those fingers are in nice firm contact with the edge of the rim. Think about it, when I throw the disc, it should be very easy to, boom, rotate off, right? Just like that. The third and final piece of every single grip when it comes to a forehand is comfort. Like I said in the beginning, it's super subjective, and there are videos out there of people launching forehand discs and they're holding them in like super funky ways. So it's really up to you. If you're getting the results you need and you have the other items in place, honestly, you might not want to change. If you're looking to increase past a plateau, yeah, that might require change on your grip. That's another thing to pay attention to is time. Everything's going to feel weird when you first make changes to your form or you first make a difference because you're not used to it. So let time sink in, and if it's still not comfortable, switch back to what you were doing. When you get the results that you're looking for, why not ask for more? So we've got the grip down. What's next? We got to get the footwork, right? Well, before you can walk, you've got to sit. I actually think in order to learn a proper forehand, you should start sitting down, because that's going to teach you where the power comes in a forehand, which isn't your arm, and there is legs involved. But the power of a forehand comes in the wrist. So here I am, sitting on my cart. What I want to show is that I don't need a run up or anything in order to start really cranking on some forehands. So here's what we're going to do. I've got pigs and a Cayman. So the highest speed disc I'm throwing is a 5.5 speed here. So I shouldn't be getting crazy distance or anything like that. And I'm not even going to try to demonstrate by running up. I'm going to keep my arm incredibly stationary, cock my wrist back, and snap it forward. And when I do that, what I'm going to create is the momentum, the speed, the power of the disc to all of a sudden take a standstill shot and boom, I throw the disc. I go 1, 2, and I'm sending these out into the distance. Most of the beginners that I work with can barely throw a forehand 150 feet, much less 200 feet, and I got almost half of that distance sitting still, not using my arm, just my wrist. We have to understand the power comes from the wrist. If your throws are coming out wobbly, it means that you're using too much arm and the disc is being thrown faster than it's being spun. So knowing that it's all in the wrist, we got to make sure that on our run up, we're not reaching all the way back like we would with a backhand, but instead we want to kind of keep this elbow locked nice into our hip. When you watch some of those other videos that I referenced earlier, you're going to hear Nate Sexton and Eagle talk about, hey, make sure that it comes off and up, back in, and then launches forward and detaches after that moment. I think that's honestly too much to be working with, especially if you're learning the forehand. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and I know this goes against a ton of things that I say because distance shouldn't always be a measurable. If you can't throw a forehand 250 feet, then what you need to be doing is your forehand needs to be locked in right here and no further, because that's the power. You're going to be able to get 250-foot forehands right here because you're not muscling it, you're not throwing it with your arm. Your arm is simply a lever to give you more momentum on snapping the disc. So we know the power is coming from the wrist. We know that we don't want to reach too far back. What are the feet going to do now that we've understood all of those things? The key features that I want you to think about during your feet is that on the reach back moment, your hips should be sideways to your target. Then you're going to lean forward, and this foot, your front foot, is going to be pointing in the direction of the throw. You want to be rocking onto the foot and using this back leg to push your momentum through your shot. A lot of people feel like they just go here and stop. No, for a powerful forehand, you're going to be coming up, load the hips, and push through the shot. If this front foot is not loaded forward, what's going to happen is your body is going to have to get over this hip, and the only way to go over the hip is to go up and over, which is going to show us our next problem, which is rolling the wrist. The roll of the wrist, the bane of all forehand throwers everywhere. That's how these beautiful looking forehands turn into throwlers and forehand rollers accidentally. When people can't figure out how to not roll their wrist, what's going to happen is you're going to gain massive amounts of distrust in your forehand. And when you don't trust a shot, you don't want to throw it. And when you don't throw it or you don't trust it, it's not as reliable and it's going to screw you up every single time you pull it out of the bag. This is the best way that I've learned how to teach not to roll the wrist. Are you ready? Here's the phrase. Every good forehand deserves a reward, so ask for it. You're gonna hear people say, keep that palm up. Make sure you keep the palm to the sky as long as possible. And here's how I like to think of it when it comes to that palm up mentality. When I throw a forehand, at the end of a good forehand, I should be reaching out and asking for my reward. Here's how that takes you to different levels of the turning of your wrist. Let's say that I come through with the forehand and I am so greedy because I want to be good right now. I'm not only going to ask for the reward, but I'm going to take it too early, and you know what my reward's going to be? Bogeys. You're never going to see a pro at the end of their throw like this, waiting for it. because they've thrown a great shot. They've received their reward and they've taken it. The key is to not take it too early. We want to make sure the disc is out of our hands, unaffected, and then roll. It's going to be a natural feeling motion, but once again, people, as soon as the disc is out of their hands, want to go, give me that reward. And that's not going to work. This is especially helpful in wooded or tight situations when you need the disc to go very straight. When I'm throwing down short, tight tunnels, I'm telling myself over and over again, and this is after 9 years of throwing forehands. All right, I'm getting my reward, and that reward's about to be a birdie. Give it to me. The last thing I want to leave you with when learning how to throw a forehand is disc selection. Everyone's going to get out there and tell you if you want to learn a forehand, the easiest way to do it is to throw super overstable stuff like a Felon or a Firebird, a PD, or, you know, the classic, the most popular driver ever, the Destroyer. But I don't think that's the way to learn a forehand. Are those going to help you out very fast? Yes. Are you going to throw them maybe a little farther than you would doing something else? Yes. Because the disc is trying to help you so much that you can actually teach yourself bad habits on a forehand that when you start throwing other discs or different discs, you won't be able to forehand them because you learned your form incorrectly. When we have these super overstable discs, in order to get them to not just immediately hyzer out, we have to throw them on these crazy flexes and come over top of it and chop with them. And man, is it fun to watch a flex forehand fly in these major flight lines. Yeah, but that's after you've developed the good habits of a forehand. If you want to learn how to start showing up your card, how to throw an accurate forehand, you need to throw what I've been throwing this entire video. Putters and mids are such great doctors in diagnosing the problems of our form, and forehand is no different. So if you're learning a forehand, I would suggest throwing putters and mids on your forehand over and over and over again to try to get used to them. And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I love having the visuals of something to picture in a very real way while I'm trying to throw the shots. If that was helpful for you and you enjoyed those visuals, let me know. I'd be glad to keep those going in future videos for you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. It means the world to me that you would come and watch this video. I just want to help you as much as I possibly can. And one of the best ways I do that is through the Birdie Fam. The Birdie Fam is an online community of disc golfers who want to get better together. It's a safe and healthy place for us to come together and learn as best we can so that we can take our game to its maximum potential. If you want details on how to join the Birdie Fam, check out the description below. We've got tons of exciting things coming up, and I know 2021 has some amazing things in store for you as well. But for now, I'm gonna leave you with the birdie.